As this year's Texas legislative session rolls on, one of the many topics on the minds of members of the Senate and the House is legalized gambling. Texas is one of 11 states in the nation without legalized casino or sports betting.
In his special report, Betting on Texas, News 10's Nate Smith takes a look at the makings of this resolution and what it would mean for Texans if it's left up to a vote.
Texans love to gamble. They're doing it every place else but here.
That was Senator Carol Alvarado, a representative from Texas Senate District 6 in Harris County. Last November, she introduced Joint Resolution 16, which would allow for legalized gambling in the state of Texas. The proposal would allow for 7 casino resort locations scattered across some of the state's largest metro areas, as well as the legalization of sports betting. She says the goal is to diversify Texas's economy by creating jobs in an untapped industry, in addition to adding an extra tax revenue stream for the state.
You're talking about people that would construct all of these venues. You're talking about people that would work in the hotels, in the restaurant, in the casino. So this would be, I think, a real boost to our economy, creating thousands and thousands of jobs.
One of the voices interested in this outcome is the Texas Sports Betting Alliance. The group is comprised of several major sports books, as well as professional teams like the Dallas Cowboys, Houston Texans, Texas Rangers, and Houston Astros, just to name a few. Karina Kling, a representative of the TBSA, says that despite having to travel to bet legally, Texans are already getting in on the action.
Sports betting is taking place in Texas already, and a lot of that is unregulated.
In research commissioned by the SBA, gaming firm Eilers & Kraychek found that gambling could become a billion-dollar industry in the state. Kling says they also found a large number of Texans who are already attempting to place bets, although it's not yet legal.
There were 1 million Texans who placed bets and who were turned away by a geolocation tracking service.
Around 1 million Texans a year try to place sports bets on websites like this one. What happens is when they place their wager, their phone picks up their notification. It tells them that they cannot bet due to their current location. That's why Kling says safeguards for these consumers are vital when it comes to regulating sports betting.
We know a lot of those are then going to some of these unregulated offshore sports betting sites. And with that, you're not a protected consumer. We just want to make sure that, your information isn't being put out there and that you are getting the payout of those bets. And that's what would happen if there was this regulated framework put in place for the sports betting market.
Legalized betting is accessible to Texans by driving to Louisiana, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. But bringing gaming to the Lone Star State wouldn't come without a cost. The Texas Public Policy Foundation is a nonpartisan research institute that aims to equip lawmakers with the information necessary to make informed decisions. Derek Cohen, their chief research officer, recently published The Cost of Chance, a study on the implications of expanding gambling in the state of Texas using Ohio as a case study. Ohio legalized casino gambling in 2009 before legalizing online sports betting in 2023.
Taking that experience with how big Texas is now, extrapolating out what can we reasonably expect both on the upsides and the downsides if we were to expand casino gambling.
Using the rates at which Ohio taxes gambling, Cohen found that Texas could make $834 million in tax revenue from the industry. He also saw that after Ohio legalized betting, the number of adults who were identified as risky gamblers grew, with a large number being identified as having some kind of gambling disorder, and over 250,000 residents being seen as problem gamblers, or gamblers with a severe addiction. Since Texas has a larger population than the Buckeye State, Cohen's math says the number of problem gamblers in Texas could be in the ballpark of 600,000 people, with more than 4.5 million developing some type of addiction.
4.5 million disordered gamblers of any stripe. That's something that kind of jumped off the page at me. And just doing the, back of the envelope math on that, for each disordered gambler of, one of those 3 categories, the state would be bringing in about $184 per head.
Weighing the price of increased gambling addiction with nearly $1 billion in profit is no small task. Cohen says when you compare that potential revenue to what Texas already spends in sectors such as education, that number begins to shrink quickly.
Following the same disbursement method, we would have about 283 million go into the schools. Now, that seems like a lot. The issue is, however, if you look at like what that is versus what the state spends on schools during the course of a year, about 93 billion. This over a 365-day year will get you to Thursday on the first week. And if you're just counting in terms of instructional hours during the school year, this would cover to about third period.
While it's up to lawmakers to weigh the greater cost of making extra cash, if the decision is made, it's up to Texans to vote on a constitutional amendment.
What this resolution is simply allowing voters to decide.
And we do expect lawmakers to introduce a constitutional amendment that would allow Texans the ability to vote on this issue. And that's all we're really asking, not for lawmakers to have to make this decision, but to send it to voters in Texas.
Reporting in Waco, Nate Smith, KWTX News 10.
Included in the resolution is the creation of the Texas Gaming Commission, and the agency would be tasked with regulating both casino gambling and sports betting.